Now, how do you put a good credit management system in place in Nigeria that can contribute to the creation of a modern credit-oriented economy for the benefit of manufacturers, retailers and consumers, in line with what the President-elect Bola Tinubu has promised to do? Well, amongst other reforms, you need to set up debt collection offices across the country, as well as a bankruptcy commission to ensure the timely recovery of trade debts. This allows credit to be used as a tool for the promotion of economic growth and to support micro, small and medium enterprises. Sounds like a good but rather complicated innovation, doesn't it? Well, a workshop is opening on Thursday in Abuja that aims to explain it all. And for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by Nigeria's chief trade negotiator and former Deputy Director General at the World Trade Organization, Ambassador Yonov Fred Aga, and by the international trade lawyer and coordinator of the Credit Management Workshop, Soji Awogbade. Thank you very much indeed to both of you. Ambassador, very honored to see you. Soji, great to have you.
Thank you, sir.
Part of the problem with the lack of a modern credit-oriented economy is that collectively economic crises tend to be more damaging because everybody is just there to fend for themselves.
Well, thank you, Charles. The reality of life is that, like human beings, we are born to die. Businesses are also born to die. So, but what do you do when a business runs into trouble? You have two options. Do you take the path of liquidation or do you take the path of reorganization? This is what determines, from a trade policy point of view, how you get the economy going. Everybody lives on credit. And the part of the challenge for producers in Nigeria is access to credit.
Absolutely.
So, if you have a good credit system, producers can always source their inputs, and the creditors will be assured that even if the business runs into trouble, you can still get your money back. In the same way, once you have a good credit system in place, retailers on behalf of producers can have outlets where people come in, order goods. And I can give you an example. A young graduate wants to start a home. All he needs to do is go into a shop, pick up a TV, pick up a bed, pick up a fridge, an air conditioner if he wants one, some sitting room, cooking utensils, get a total sum. He doesn't need to pay all that at once. He pays a minimum, maybe
a down payment.
With down payment, and then pays the rest over time. So the totality of the debt is not the issue. It is the invoicing that he gets and the agreed payment terms that matter for production. So at the end of the day, the producers can plan their production, the workers get retained, and when the business runs into trouble, from a trade policy point of view, liquidation is wasteful. Liquidation is socially undesirable. You are going to lay off workers, you are going to create problems for those who the company may be owing. But if you have the path of a bankruptcy law or framework that then allows you to exit in a structured manner, you can continue working, people will continue to have a job, those who depend on your products will continue to get them. So this is important to enhance the productive capacity of the economy.
Right, that's a good point. And let me bring you in, because you mentioned the law there, and you are of course an international trade lawyer, and that is part of what you're going to be explaining in this workshop, isn't it? That is starting tomorrow.
Okay, Charles, what we're going to try and do in this and subsequent outings is to unpack the credit system. Unpacking it from a legal point of view and unpacking it also from an operational point of view. Now, there are perfect laws all the time, but when you do not make laws that will operate realistically within a structure, you stifle many things. The growth of the economy is stifled. The lives of people is made far more difficult than it ought to be. The quality of life goes down by the same token. So we're looking at all the fundamentals that go not just into lawmaking, into policy making, and into the adjudication of issues that arise from that apparatus, such that the law is not standing in the way of commerce. Now, don't forget that we have signed on to the AFCFTA. That is going to lead to a balloon in intra-Africa trade. You want a community that is armed with credit to shop and to sell. So if you can produce as a producer, then you will need credit. If you can buy as a buyer and you can afford it, you also need credit. So credit washes both ways. And you're going to try and see in these series how the law does not stand in the way of that credit. That's precisely the goal here. When we now finish that phase and everybody seems to understand where we need to go, then we go to the next level. How does the lawmaking arm regard this? Is it in consonance with the governance principles of state? Is it in accordance with what they were elected to protect as the rights of citizens? Because, you see, the credit system washes both ways. Sometimes it is harsh on the creditor. Next time it is harsh on the debtor. There has to be a medium path where we can actually make them shake hands and not be in an adversarial position all the time.
Well, that's a good point. And Ambassador, this appears to be in line with what the new administration of Bola Tinubu is trying to achieve. I mean, he mentioned that in his manifesto, because he talked about trying to put in place a modern credit-oriented economy in Nigeria. So in a sense, you're saying, well, let's get on with it.
Well, I'm happy the president-elect made this point. Nevertheless, you may wish to note, Nigeria being what it is, these are ideas that have been on the table since 2000.
So just the fact that he said it doesn't mean
no, it's not because he said it that we are doing this.
Right, okay.
And that even what we are trying to do now was approved by the Federal Executive Council in March last year. So it's what do I say, a measure of thoughts and minds. And I hope he can also support what we are trying to do.
But I mean, Soji Awogbade, isn't it a bit premature? I mean, don't you need to have a proper police force and a debt default prosecution service and a well-run, efficient judiciary in order for this to happen? So you need to put all these in place before you kind of move towards a credit-oriented economy.
Charles, it is chicken and egg in that sense. There are too many moving parts in this entire orchestra. Now, what we want to first get is a groundswell for the fact that whatever we all need to do, is it the judiciary, is it the banking system, is it the bureau, is it the bankruptcy court and all of that, we need to now recognize that this old mold is stifling us. And I think that should be easy to recognize, because there is no portion of Nigeria that's not shouting for credit. They are stifled. Absolutely. They cannot grow. So I think it should be a relatively easier path to walk. Now that government is volubly and visibly behind the movement. I'm just going to hope that this is one time that we all recognize that this is common good. It is not about politics. This is strong and serious economics. If you got money in your pocket, you can't trade. If you haven't got money in your pocket, you cannot trade. It's simple.
Yeah, but if I feel that, I mean, I'm running a business. I've got television sets, as you pointed out. I've got fridges and all the rest of it, and I'm giving it to you, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to get my money, whether or not, if you default or if something happens and you vanish, how I'm going to deal with it.
That is exactly what this new approach or initiative is supposed to take care of. To provide legal certainty. That's why from bankruptcy to debt collection. Debt collection allows the office, based on an invoice. You come into my shop, you sign an invoice, you take away your good, or I deliver the goods, or provide you a service, and you sign my invoice. I don't need the regular courts. I don't need the police.
Right.
The value of the invoice is what the debt collection will go after you.
So you got debt collection services, bailiffs, and all the rest of it.
No, you don't need bailiffs.
Yeah, bailiffs come with the court.
No, these ones, the debt once I report, they issue you a demand. If you don't pay within 1 month, they start calculating interest, and it becomes punitive. You see, part of the problem with law in Nigeria is that the sanctions are not punitive enough. So people take it for granted.
Yes, yes. I see.
Pay simple fines, and they get on. But in this case, you will have to pay, and failure to pay to the debt collection office allows the Bankruptcy Commission to initiate bankruptcy against you. And you know the consequences.
No, it's a very interesting thing. I could really talk to you forever, but unfortunately we're out of time because we've got another program coming up. But we must talk about this some more, and I will try and make sure that this happens again. Ambassador Yonov Fred Aga is Nigeria's chief trade negotiator, former deputy director general at the World Trade Organization, and of course Soji Awogbade is the international trade lawyer and coordinator of the credit management workshop. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry the time was so short. That's it for this edition of Arise Prime Time. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.